This really is truly one of my favorite launches to date ever. I want to show everybody what we have for them, and this gets really exciting really fast. Let's go.
Go.
rTMS.
Truly amazing.
It is. It is something that is really special. And let's tell people the backstory. Yeah. You and I and Shelby were together about a little over a year ago.
That's right.
Right? We were at an event that Lee Steinberg was hosting, right? Down in Las Vegas. Yep. He hosts this event every year before the Super Bowl. And it's a pretty well-to-do event.
Big time.
Yeah, big time. You got stars there, show stars, player stars. A lot of people show up to this event. And Lee had invited you, and you graciously invited me and Shelby to come with you, right?
Yeah.
We go to this event with you, and we're sitting there right when it started, front row seats.
Front row.
Okay? Yeah. Lee Steinberg. If you don't know who Lee Steinberg is, let me give you some background. Do you know Jerry Maguire? Show me the money. That guy, right? That's Jerry Maguire. Lee Steinberg is Jerry Maguire.
That's who the name is. That was the character.
That was the character. Yeah. They made Jerry Maguire after Lee Steinberg and his experience as a rep, right? A rep to athletes,
yeah.
Right? Well, so Lee comes out on stage while we're sitting there in the front row, and he's talking about the theme of this event. This event is about brain health.
Yeah, amazing.
Right? Amazing. So many cool things out there, including what you brought to the table. But we don't need to go there. But he's on stage and he's talking about to everybody this discovery he's made. And he said, listen, I think he's in his 80s. I probably might get
late
that
70s,
wrong.
early 80s.
Late 70s, early 80s. And he was noticeably having some frustration with his memory.
Right.
He's like, I knew people. I could not
come up with the name.
The name.
Yeah.
The name wasn't coming. And I knew him really well. Yeah. And it was, not only was it frustrating to me, it was a little embarrassing, right? I couldn't just spit it out. I couldn't just go through the filing system. Oh, there's the name. Let's say it, right? I was struggling with that. He goes, but then he came across something called rTMS. And he goes, I did 5 sessions on rTMS and had a noticeable, complete feeling of confidence change in his recall, in his awareness, in his alertness, in the clarity. You and Shelby and I sat there.
We all looked at each other and go, that's us.
That's us. That's it. And we said, we hadn't come up with the hub yet.
No.
We were working on the hub at the time, and we said, that has to be in the hub. rTMS has to be in the hub. It would only make sense because the hub is a powerhouse by itself. We know this. But what is the hub? It's called the hub for a reason. Yeah. Because it's supposed to have spokes go out from it. It's supposed to have things reach out in other modalities. And right there, last February, this light bulb moment for all three of us. We all look at each other and we're like, rTMS. People need this. Yeah. They want this. It is a powerful tool. So let's get into it.
Well, let's go back for the one thing I did not know about Lee Steinberg at the time is I didn't know he had those issues.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
We had no idea. And the reason he has these events that we were invited to was because of what it had done for his brain. And he has this compassion and drive to make sure all these athletes get that same benefit that he got. And it changed his life. According to him, it completely changed his life.
It did. And I think, okay, so I knew of it. I had used it before. I hadn't had a specific experience with it, trying to say, okay, I need rTMS or I need rTMS for something. But actually in our development and in our testing, of course, I've been using it. And I love that. This truly has probably made it why I love launching this is because when I have a noticeable experience with something and I'm not targeting anything, I'm not trying to solve any problem in particular, and I can see a difference in my sharpness, in my recall, in my ability to comprehend a lot of information for me and then be able to give it back. Boy, rTMS did that for me.
Well, I remember walking into your office and you said to me, Loren, that thing really works.
Yeah.
He says, I'm thinking so much clearer now, and you were so excited and animated about it.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
It is, and this is one of those things that I really think, to Lee's point and to our purpose in making it and testing it and bringing it to market with some very unique features, is to hopefully reach as many homes as we can. Because I think it's not just for certain situations. It really is a tool that's available for everybody. All right. So rTMS, repetitive, transcranial, magnetic stimulation. Okay, rTMS. We're going to again refer to it as the rTMS. This is a low intensity device. Let's talk about that for just a minute as we get deeper into this path.
So rTMS just means you're putting a rapid or repetitive transverse magnetic stimulation to the brain. And there's generally 8 points around the skull that we're doing that.
Okay.
Most rTMSs on the market, before we go to there, there's really 2 types of rTMS.
Okay.
You have the high intensity, which basically means that the pulse coming from the coil is 1 Tesla in amplitude, which is really strong. The rTMS we're dealing with is a microtesla current, so 1,000 times lower.
Yes.
You won't even feel it. On a high intensity rTMS, you actually feel a thump in your head, not on your head. In your head, you feel that thump, and it's distressing.
That's a lot.
Yeah. The downside to that is it can actually cause permanent memory loss. So obviously we want to stay way away from that. But there are times when that is used, and that's when it's severe suicidal depression.
Okay.
Then when we've got to something has to happen, to stop it. But for all of the uses, microtesla pulses are much, much better and safer. Same results.
And this goes back to something you've implemented, you've talked about, we've worked around when we've done any sort of development around here. We want to suggest, we want to coach, we just want to encourage the body to do things the way the body should, right?
Right.
And so not that those severe cases don't need to be dealt with. It's just that this would not be the device for those severe cases.
This is not a medical device.
Yeah, this is not a medical device.
This is a neurological stimulator.
Yes, yeah. So we're just trying to suggest, almost meditatively help the body get into a brain function that supports you, right? Based on the situation that you want support in right now. When you look at that, like you said, microtesla is a unit of energy measurement. Is that
intensity? Yeah.
Intensity, okay. Mm-hmm. And we're using a low intensity to suggest to the body over time, or the brain in particular, let's do this.
And the thing is let's go back to this. How does the brain communicate within itself?
Okay.
Not with big pulses, with that repetitive, mild stimulation. It's more like a whisper.
I love that.
If I whisper to somebody, there's a tendency to lean in.
Yes.
If I shout that. As you shout, you pull back.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is we want to whisper encouragement to the brain to do what it needs to.
I love that. It's almost like, and forgive the analogy, and I don't mean this to be offensive on the high intensity situation, but high intensity is telling you what to do. Do this, change this, fix this, demanding, really strong, right? And a low intensity is almost like your friend. Linking your arms, saying, hey, let's do this together. Yeah. Let's be friends in this process. Let's suggest your way into getting where you want to go. So it's really powerful that way. That by itself, as you start to understand this, people use rTMS for a lot of things, right? We talked about Lee, memory. It helps with pain management in that gateway control theory that works within the body. People have experienced improved sleep with this.
Well, and here's the other thing that's important is with our cradle that goes around the head, there's 8 different coils, 7 around your head and 1 on the top.
Uh-huh.
We can literally target just this coil or just this coil or just this coil or all of them. And nobody else does that. So if you're dealing with, a day where you're really down, depressing feelings, there's going to be one area of the brain that needs the stimulation, the rest doesn't.
Right.
And so we're giving the stimulation where it's requesting it.
Yep.
in a way that it can accept it
Yeah.
and not reject it.
I love that. And that really supports those benefits, because the body does want to reach its balance. It does want to reach that common term, homeostasis, right? It really wants to figure out where it can efficiently act effectively.
That's right.
Right? And efficiency usually goes around the idea of using the least amount of energy for the maximum amount of benefits.
That's right.
Right? And so this is where we sit with the AO rTMS. We sit with trying to efficiently engage with the brain in a process that is different from a theta experience or anything else.
Right.
It's for its own benefit. It's another modality to bring to the table to support the brain.
Right. And you mentioned the theta experience or the light.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't recommend doing them at the same time.
Great
I would do one or the other because it's too much. I mean, in human nature, we think if a little bit's good, a lot's better.
Yeah.
And in most cases, that's the reverse.
Yeah, that's true.
A little bit. So the way we use it in the clinical settings is someone will do a theta experience. They'll get out of theta. They'll go rest for a few minutes, drink some water, and then they'll do an rTMS.
Okay.
One is one is like planting the seed. The other one is nourishing the seed.
Yes.
So two different things. You wouldn't do the two together.
I love that. I think that's a great process. In fact, one of the things that I tried to do, now I didn't do this every time, but I tried to do as I have been going through my rTMS experience is I actually started with an inner voice. I would do an inner voice, and that's my favorite one, to calm my brain, to calm my emotions, to balance things out. And for me, I always equate the end result of the balancing harmonics as a peaceful state, because it just feels peaceful to me. My emotions feel at peace. I feel at ease with whatever it is that's going on. What a great way to get into coaching the brain with this magnetic stimulation toward a direction I want to go through. It really is, hey, not only are we linking arms with the AO rTMS, but we're doing it in a way that we're friends, right? To me, that's that peaceful state.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And I love what you said about you do the inner voice first to calm the brain, and then you follow up with your rTMS. Let me tell you why that really strikes me. Years ago, we had been doing the theta part of it.
Yes.
The lights and the stimulation. And we were working with a Zen master, a meditator. I don't know what Zen master means completely, but it's meditation.
Yeah,
and he says,
I'm buying.
Yeah,
totally makes sense to me.
He said after his 30 minutes with that part of it, that he got to a deeper, calmer state of relaxation than in 30 minutes than it took him years to learn how to do on his own. So what you just said about how you get your brain back into that meditative, where you're basically, all that means is you're open.
Yes.
You've taken away the blocks. You've opened it up for source, for introspection, for whatever. And now you put on your rTMS. It just drives all that to where it needs to go.
I love that. And that's so true. That's so true. When you look at, because it's connected to the hub, obviously it's connected to the AO scan.
That's right.
Right? And that actually makes one of the things that is dramatically, forever different than any other rTMS in the marketplace. And we'll get into our competitive advantages in just a second. This definitely is one of them. But as it connects, right? And in fact, let me just take a minute and show how it connects. You have your hub, and you have on one, there's only one 5-prong port. And it's actually really simple. You have the 5-prong connector here. On top, it actually has an arrow in and a little notch. And guess what? At the top of the 5 prongs, there's a little notch. You just kind of line those up, and with some gentle pressure, it goes right in. Now, if you have a hub already, you know that you have to use a PC in order to use the AO scan technology with the hub. You'll see with the hub connected to the PC that it's there. And then you can go to accessories in the hub, and what are you going to see? The rTMS. Now you have a drop-down menu with some choices, right? Some choices to make, something you want to work with. Suggestions you can work with today. And then what it also shows, I'm going to just leave that connected. We'll put it right back here just for fun. You'll see this additional control box that helps with controlling those 8 coils that you mentioned.
The amplifier.
The amplifier.
The sender, the receiver, the amplifier.
Yeah, well, perfect. In the setting of using the rTMS, so you're in the environment now, in your AO scan, and you see not only the suggested process that you want to work with today, but you see the coils. And then right below that, you have low and high. And then that's different than low and high from high rTMS, high intensity.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not like going from a micro Tesla to a big Tesla. No. There is a slight increase in that amplification.
Yes.
But it's more of a focused intensity.
Okay.
Rather than, just a big.
For the people that have tested, would you recommend, I recommend this, I hope I'm right, to have people start with the low version?
Always.
Always start with the low version. If there is one potential contraindication around the research in rTMS, low intensity rTMS, is that some people might get a headache. They might.
Think about it this way. We don't have this stimulation on our brain all the time. So when the first time you put it on, that's a different sensation, a weird sensation to the brain. It's not used to this.
Yeah.
So the first few times you use it, set it at low.
Yep.
Maybe only do 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever. If you start to feel heat or a little bit of uncomfortableness, take it off.
Yeah.
Your brain will eventually get used to and acclimate to this type of external stimulation, and it then starts to become its friend.
Yes.
It starts to communicate freely.
It knows what to do with it.
And knows how to handle it. Yes. Perfect.
That's perfect. That is a great way. So if you're starting out, select low, hit start, the timer starts counting down, and so you see the 8 coils.
That's right.
And the ones that are on are spinning.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
It is way cool. And the thing is here, again, we just said a minute ago, this isn't a medical device, and you're going to see terms in there that may sound like it's a diagnostic. No, those are this is a condition, and these are the frequencies and the areas of the brain that they use. That's all that means.
Yeah.
So it gives you some guidance. You don't have to say, well, where do I have to do this?
Yeah.
That's what they've used in the past, and that's what it's for. You'll notice the coils, when you get them, they're numbered. Mm-hmm. One up here is a 1, and then here it's 2, and then 3
and 4.
5, and back.
And so as you place it, I mean, there's a guide that comes with this, but like you said, 1, 2, 3, 4 over the temples. Mm-hmm. And then the back 4 kind of go across,
right behind
the ear,
over the occipital.
That's the way it sets up. It's an elastic band, so it can stretch. We've had it on some big heads, we've had it on some small heads, right? But adapted to your comfort as best you can. And then you sit there and you go through a 30-minute session, really a meditative session. I think you can calm down. Yep. You could do work, like I've done work. I've done late in the day. I've done brain fatigue as one of them when I'm trying to study something or research something. I've done that research actually while I'm doing the session. And I find it to be helpful. I find it to be beneficial. You mentioned the coils, the 8 coils. Mm-hmm. There's something special about these coils.
Yeah. So we've been building these coils for years, but this time we actually found that if we take a coil and we make the coil around an iron pin, okay, and then put that next to the head, it takes that magnetic pulse and it focuses it so that it's more directed and more intense in its delivery. Yeah. And as far as we know, it's the only coil of its kind in the world. Yeah. And it makes a difference.
It does make a difference. And you can notice a difference as you not only experience it. I mean, if you had a little magnetic ball, you could test and see it bounce around. These are really functional tools. I think we do get more out of these coils because of the design and the direction given to it.
We know that for a fact because we took our old system that had the normal coils, and then we took the one for the AO hub. And this here was an incredibly more visual experience that we could see with the magnet. And so when you put it on the head, you can feel this is directed.
And as I was doing sessions, as I have been, and as I've been having people in my office and trying to coach people on this, and many people have been trying it out, testing it out, I like to say that it's a clear magnetic stimulation in that
clean.
And clean.
Very clean.
Yeah. So what I hope that means is you'll experience greater success with it quicker. In fact, what I have seen actually, my own experience was in the 3rd session. I know somebody else who was joined for something specific, and in the 2nd session, they already started to note that there was a little bit of a difference that they could see and feel because
of retention. Focus and retention.
Yep. with that. What sort of experiences have you seen when people have tried to use an rTMS? Have you seen experiences where people have benefited from that?
Well, so there was a 12-year-old boy that was, of course, all 12-year-old boys have a lot of excess energy, but this one had way too much.
A lot.
And within 5 sessions of 30 minutes a day, five sessions, the mother said, he's like a different kid. He's calm, he's focused, he still has energy, but it's a focused energy.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. We also had a gentleman a few years back with Parkinson's. And, he had the tremors. And within the first session, he noticed a reduction in his tremors. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen for everybody. But these things, even the simple things where people will come in and say, hey, Kai, I'm focusing better. I'm feeling better. These are the things that we're going to start to see.
Yeah, I love that. And we welcome them. As you have great success with this, please share it with us. We'd love to hear. We always love hearing the success, the stories that people have. We just kind of cheer around here and high five because we're like, oh, we love that people are having success. Now let's talk about one I think is probably the kingpin differentiator of the AO-rTMS to any other rTMS in the world. We talked about the pin, we talked about the structure. The brains behind it, the governing part of the AO-rTMS is the AO-scan technology.
Yep.
And like we've said with the AO-scan technology, is it ever going to be finished?
Nope.
Never finished.
Never.
What does that mean? That means that, let's say, even 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, there is research around success of a certain variety with rTMS research. We can take from that research, from that clinical work, we can design improvements within the software that anybody who has the AO-rTMS can get. They don't have to buy a new rTMS.
Nope.
Any other rTMS out in the marketplace, you have to buy a new one if you want new modalities.
Buy a new one or pay for an upgrade.
Or pay for an upgrade.
And we don't have, that's not going to happen with this one.
Yeah, and so that sits there, unending improvements to the AO-rTMS as we find them, create them, define them, and offer them to you. I love that.
Isn't that fun?
Nobody else will have that. Now let's talk about value for just a second.
Okay.
I am aware of somebody who has, and you actually shared this with me, so you can talk more to this, who spent, a person who has an rTMS unit, who spent $6,000 a coil. Was that right?
Yes.
So 8 coils, my math, I'm not a mathematician, I'm a lawyer, but that's $48,000, right?
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Now you can go out into the marketplace and find really good functioning, but even on the low end, you're going to delve down to maybe what, $12,000?
$12,000 to $14,000 is the typical serious quality grade of an rTMS.
Yeah.
And those don't have control of individual coils. They're either all on or all off.
Okay.
Same intensity, same everything. So you're talking into the 20s and 30s and $40,000 if you want the flexibility of being able to control just a coil or a series of coils or have coils rotate. So no, this is a big deal.
This is a big deal because we're going to share with you what we have crafted. We've crafted in such a way with the intent to not be obviously anywhere into those price ranges, right? We wanted to be able to bring something as that could be accessible to the home. Now, it might not be for everyone, and we totally understand that. We expect that.
Yes.
But we are doing the best we can to get an offering out there that is accessible. And what I mean is not just for the clinician. It is for the home. It is for the family. It's for your kids. It's for your spouse. It's for your in-laws, right? This is what it's for. Yeah. When we look at what the value we're putting here in with the key differentiators, it requires the hub. And we understand that the hub costs about $3,000 in the loyalty price. It costs that you have to have an AO-scan subscription, $149. So we were doing everything to drive this down as far as we possibly could to make it work with the hub, but if you bought only the hub for this reason, it would be a powerful tool.
And incredibly cost efficient.
What does the AO-rTMS cost? Its loyalty price is $2,500. That is an incredible, compared to what you just heard. When you look at adding, okay, let me spend $3,000 on the hub and the rTMS, $5,500. That's less than one coil for that guy we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's less than half the price at the low end of the market without the unending upgrades from the AOScan technology. And then without all of the other benefits that you get from the hub, the theta, the gamma, the alpha, all whatever engagement you want to do in the brain, the lasers as other adapters. We talked about another thing you'll see. Go check out TENS if you haven't checked it out yet. There's so much more being added to the hub. But again, if you were just looking at this as what is this offering if I were to buy an rTMS? I've heard of rTMS. I've researched rTMS. I've never been able to dive into the range of what rTMS is. It's never made sense to be able to spend that kind of money to bring it into my home. We hope that we've put something together that is so unique, that is an offering that's truly accessible in the home. If it's not today, no problem. We're going to keep doing this so that we have it for you down the road when it is yours. But for those that it is today, you can jump in and start getting these benefits right now. You guys, rTMS, a completely... The hub is unique in all the world. Nobody else has it. Nobody will ever have it. It is unique in all the world. Nobody can duplicate it. By the time they try to, we're going to be so far ahead of them already. You add, rTMS is not just the icing on the cake. It is not just the cherry on top. It just raises the whole cake.